Hey gang, it's me, Dr. Steve. We've got a fascinating development coming out of the state of Arizona. In the wake of Kari Lake's ongoing election court challenge, the Republican-dominated Arizona legislature is taking matters into their own hands. This is going to blow your mind. Arizona Senate Majority Leader Sonny Borrelli has issued a formal letter to every county election office in the state, notifying them that electronic voting machines can no longer be used for federal elections. Now, this letter comes on the heels of the Arizona legislature's recent passage of a bill that requires that all election equipment, including voting machines, be made only with domestic components and assembled here in the United States. However, currently, as things stand, there are no machines that meet such specifications in Arizona. The recently passed legislation, of course, aims to enhance election security and make it easier to investigate any potential issues. Now, of course, the legislation was vetoed by Katie Hobbs, who became governor after she, as then Secretary of State, put herself in charge of counting her opponent's votes. But the Republicans in the Arizona legislature were hardly deterred. In response to the veto, the Arizona Senate passed a resolution which the Senate president claims is binding on all of Arizona's counties, effectively barring them from using machines to count ballots in federal elections. Here's the press release that was just issued. Quote, Arizona State Senate Majority Leader Sonny Borrelli is notifying all county board of supervisors within the state of Arizona via letter today that they must first and foremost prioritize protecting national security during any future elections. Back in 2017, the U.S. Secretary of Homeland Security issued a statement clearly designating elections infrastructure as critical infrastructure, which means these electronic systems must have safeguards in place to prevent any attacks which threaten our national security. The legislature is exercising our plenary authority to see that no electronic voting systems in the state of Arizona are used as the primary method for conducting, counting, tabulating, or verifying federal elections unless those systems meet necessary standards of protection. It is in our state's and nation's best interest that we comply with implementation security measures to protect our republic. So the key phrase there was his citing of this notion of plenary authority. The U.S. Constitution under Article 1, Section 4 gives state legislatures what's called the plenary authority to conduct elections in the time, place, and manner of their own choosing. So as I understand it, state legislatures do not need the governor's permission to do this. But reading the way the local Arizona media is covering this, you would never have known that. Arizona media, generally speaking, is radically liberal. They're utterly pathetic. And they're dismissing this all as really nothing more than just a stunt by the Republican Senate. Obviously, the new Democratic Secretary of State and Attorney General aren't going to abide by this letter. So this resolution may end up in court, which, given what we've seen so far in the Kari Lake case, doesn't provide much hope. As I'm sure many of you know by now, the judge has yet again dismissed Kari Lake's case, despite all of the evidence she put forward on the incompetence surrounding signature verification in Arizona. Because in the judge's words, signature verification protocols were followed, quote, in some fashion. But I think the combination of the Arizona Senate's efforts and what Kari Lake demonstrated in court are going to have a very significant effect going forward. You're going to love this. But first, gang, you know that corrupt politicians like Nancy Pelosi and establishment senators, they've been using their security clearances and exclusive knowledge to their own advantage in the market for decades now. They know when sales are up. They know when earnings are going to be. They know what legislation is coming in or incoming Fed changes, and a host of other inside baseball tips that gives them an unfair advantage when picking stocks. When these bigwigs make moves, odds are they know something's up. But thanks to a little-known SEC database, guess what? We can see what and when these people are buying. And not only do we get to see it in real time, but we get to piggyback on their trades to gain the same insider advantage for ourselves, but perfectly legally and ethically. My friend Ross Givens has been tracking insider trading for years, and his recommendations have led to investment returns of over 200%, some of it as high as nearly 1,500%. And according to him, there's no better way to beat the market. And now it's your turn. Click on that link below right now and learn how you too can learn to trade like Pelosi. Click on that link and learn how to gain an insider advantage for yourself today. Now, the bottom line with the whole Kari Lake trial really comes down to this. Did Arizona state workers fulfill the signature verification requirements for a valid election as required by Arizona state law? According to eyewitness testimony, nearly 300,000 mail-in ballots were processed in the course of basically 36 hours, even though it takes 24 hours to process 60,000. So in other words, signature verification of over 298,000 ballots in 36 hours is simply impossible. Then Kari Lake's legal team played for the court surveillance video where you could see one poll worker scrolling through ballots next to another one doing the same, and that one worker is just zipping through them like the rate of 20-1 compared with the other worker who's actually doing his job. Apparently, this person ended up, quote, verifying upwards in nearly 30,000 signatures. And then when you look at the signature matching percentage, for those signatures verified in under 2 seconds, it was a 100% match. For those under 3 seconds, it was around 99%. Now, keep in mind, the norm in 2016 was a rejection rate of 5%. So clearly, they weren't verifying signatures, clearly. So what Kari Lake's team did is they showed extraordinary evidence to the court that the signature verification process was not faithfully employed and adhered to by poll workers. So regardless of the court's decision to dismiss the case, Kari Lake has successfully exposed how horrific Maricopa County election protocol actually is. And I don't think it's a coincidence that the cease and desist letter sent out by the Senate Majority Leader came on the heels of this judge's disappointing ruling on the Kari Lake case. As far as the Republican-dominated Senate is concerned, they've seen enough. And they're ordering all county election supervisors to stop using their current electronic voting machines for all future federal elections. I think such measures are bold. I think they're courageous. And I think they're exactly the model Republican legislatures throughout the nation should be following in taking back their state from what many perceive to be an incurably corrupt permanent political class. So obviously we'll be keeping an eye on how things develop in Arizona and around the nation in this ongoing fight for election integrity. As always, make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. You'll definitely want to check out my latest video on Chris Pratt destroying woke haters in an epic video. It's going to absolutely make your day. It's inspiring. So make sure to click on that link, and I'll see you over there. God bless. Hey, gang, I know what it's like to feel alone out there in these turbulent times, but I broke free. If you too have been looking for a community with like-minded patriots who are serious about resisting globalism, building a parallel economy, and having intelligent and deep fellowship on a regular basis, then you've come to the right place. In my Courageous Patriot Insiders community, we're building a close-knit movement of, by, and for patriots who are breaking free from the outrage and despair cycles of the mainstream media and taking on the fight against globalism. Every week, I deep dive into the content I can't share on big tech and give you the cliff notes on the truth of how patriots just like you are building up their communities, starting patriot businesses, and fighting the woke in both public and private. All with a few history and political lessons from yours truly, of course. If you want to stop feeling alone as a patriot and stand together with this fast-growing community, be sure to click on the link in the description below. Don't wait. Join me and my Patriot Coalition today, and let's get fighting.